Hello everyone, welcome to Reactify Labs. Today we are going to discuss the low-level system design of ATM. ATM, also called automated teller machine, uh, the machine which dispenses cash. Okay, so I believe we all know what an ATM is, so I don't need to explain what ATM is. So I'll just start by how it works. Okay, so how does an ATM work? Let's say you are a person. Okay, here you have an ATM machine. Okay, you have your card. You went to the ATM and you inserted your card in the machine. Okay, so what all happens here? Once you insert the card, it is possible that you could have inserted something else. You could have inserted a paper, a polythene, a, um, visiting card, anything. So it has to first verify that this card is good. Or you could have entered an expired card. So it needs to verify that this card is good. Okay. So what it does is verifies the card. Okay. Card means correctness of the card. It's not verifying yet that if this card belongs to you or not. Just verifies the correctness of the card. Who does it? It is done by a card reader. Okay. Great. Now, once you insert the card, what happens? It gives you different instructions. So you can see on the screen different instructions. So instructions or not instructions, actually these are called options. So what do you want to do now? Either you want to check your mini statement, check your balance, or you want to withdraw money, or you want to send money to someone, or you want to change the telephone number which there in the card. What do you want to do exactly? So these instructions or these options, they all come on your display. Okay, great. You can call it as display or screen, anything works. Okay, and after that you tap on the display or there is a button on the screen. I'll assume both are same, but yeah, once you select your option, let's say you have to withdraw money or you have to change your number for anything, you would need to enter. Let's say you decided to change your phone number, so it will ask you what is your existing phone number first, then it will ask you the new phone number. Okay, similarly if you want to withdraw money, it will ask you to tell the amount, how much money you want to withdraw. Okay, so now let's say I will take the example of money withdrawal. So it asks for how much money to withdraw. Okay, and you enter it through the keypad, correct? Okay, now it asks you for your pin to verify that this card actually belongs to you. If this card belongs to you, then you would know your pin. So that's it. You enter the pin also through the keypad, right? Next what happens is you have to once you entered the pin correctly, you take the cash. Okay, from where you get the cash? It is through the cash dispenser. Okay, next, do you want the receipt? Yes, you take the receipt. Receipt, this is means, who gives you the receipt? The printer gives you the receipt. Okay, also there is one more thing. Let's say we do not need it for now, we are good to go with this much, but let's say we take one more thing. You have to transfer that money to somebody, or let's say not that, you did not go to the ATM to withdraw cash, you went to the ATM to deposit the cash. So there would be a deposit slot as well, or the where you can deposit either the check or the cash. Okay, deposit slot. What do you do here? Deposit the money. Okay, now we know that we have these many things to take care of. Okay, great. So taking into account that we need to handle the separation of concerns, each class should handle, first of all, each of these should be a class, and each class should handle only those things which they would do. The solid principles S, single responsibility. Okay, so let's see first what all classes do we need for our ATM. So there would be a central system called the ATM. Okay, correct. We have used a card reader. Correct. We have used a keypad. We have used a screen. Sure. We have used a card reader. Is there cash dispenser? Okay. We have used a printer. Correct. Next, we have used a deposit slot. Okay. What else? We have these things. Okay. These classes will be there. But if you see, this one verifies the card. Who verifies the card? The card reader verifies the card. Correct. But when you enter the pin, oh, I did not write it, but when you enter the pin, how does it know that this card belongs to you? So in the backend, there is some server, something going on, which talks to the bank. The bank knows your right pin, and when you enter the right pin, it verifies against the pin that is there in the bank. Okay, so there has to be something. None of these can handle those verification things, so there would be a bank, right? You have an account. Okay, whenever you enter the card and all those things you can do through your account. So you have an account. uh, there is a card also, which is a class. Okay, and when everything happens, like you withdraw the money or you transferred the money, it creates a transaction which contains everything, like this was the amount that was withdrawn, it was withdrawn on this day at this time, this card number was used, the mode of payment was the ATM, everything. Okay, so this is the transaction. Okay, now that we know that we have all the classes ready, what can we do? We can just go ahead and start designing our system. Okay, cool. So what are we going to do? We are going to start with a central entity called an ATM. Okay. In your city or in your neighborhood, you would see there is an ATM machine. Okay. So there is an ATM class. Each ATM has something like, how do you identify an ATM? You say that, okay, this is at this address, this is at MG Road. Correct. The address is there. But if the world has too many MG roads, so for that you need an ID. Okay. Let's say there is an ATM ID, and then it has a location. Location is basically an address. Okay, so ATM ID and an address we have. Now what? If you see, this location is a very big thing. Means it has street address, it has mm, what is it called, locality, pin code. So these all form a, let's make it a separate data type, which is called an address. अरे मैं So we will make address as a data type, which will have different things like street address, city, state, pin code. Okay, so these things will identify that, okay, country as well. These things will identify an address and it will be done. Okay. Next, we have an ATM, and then ATM is composed of many things. What all? Okay. This ATM has a cash dispenser, right? Cash dispenser has a few things. Okay. Next, obviously, it will have a keypad. Next, it will have a screen. Means all those things which we talked about earlier, which make up the ATM, will be contained here. Okay. Printer, a card reader, and let's say deposit slot. Okay, this is not required here, so I'm deleting it. It was just for explaining. Okay, so there these things, and so if you see, this is a composition. So these all make up the ATM. Okay, and they all are dependent on the ATM. Means without an ATM, these will not exist. Okay. So these all form the ATM. Each of these will have some method or something like, let's say, the cash dispenser will have something called dispense cash. We have a keypad which will have something like, let's say, enter, or whenever you press a number, enter is pressed, like that number gets inserted. Screen will also have something like display. Okay. Screen will have a function called display message. Printer will have a function called print. Sorry. Card reader will have a function called read card. Deposit slot will have now the thing is, deposit slot, you know that a cash deposit slot is different from a check deposit slot, right? So it will have two children, right? So there will be a check deposit slot and there will be a cash deposit slot. Okay. This ATM belongs to a bank. Okay. And the bank also has identifiers like the name of the bank, the code of the bank, and each bank deploys its own ATM. So it will have functions like add an ATM. Okay. So these are the classes that are created. Now I think we have covered most of the things. The one thing that is left is, once money gets withdrawn, a transaction gets created, right? And this transaction has its own identifiers like a transaction ID. It will have the status if the transaction got succeeded or it got failed. It will have a date, like what was the date of the transaction, not exactly date, it will be a date time. Okay. And each transaction will have different things. Like if you see, everything is a transaction. If you do a money transfer, it will be a transaction. If you do a withdrawal, it is a transaction. If you do a deposit, it is a transaction. Let's say you did balance inquiry, it is a transaction. So everything is basically a transaction. So each of these will have their own identifiers. Like this one thing is common, that transaction happened for the that transaction ID. But if you see deposit, for example, this deposit will carry the ID of the transaction, but deposit has what is the amount for which the deposit was done. Withdrawal also, what is the amount for which the withdrawal happened. So this is basically the variable, and the functions will be get amount. Okay. And when we did the transfer will have things like what was the destination to which the transfer happened, what was the source, like from where till where, and then what was the amount. Okay. And when we do the balance inquiry, it will just contain the amount, like what amount you showed in the balance, or even that is not required. Okay. Then what will be required in balance inquiry? Nothing. It may be like for which account you did the balance inquiry, and that's it. Okay. And once the transaction and ATM are linked, now what we are going to do is we have one more thing. This ATM card belongs to a customer. Okay. Right. This ATM card belongs to a customer, and the customer will have its own identifications like name, address, phone number, things like these. Okay. Status also, let's say if the customer is active or not. Okay. And each customer will have a card, right? Each customer will have a card of his own, and the card will have its own identifiers like card number, what is the name on the card, what is the expiry date of the card, what is the pin of the card, things like these. And this card will not exist without a customer. Only when a customer is there, the card is formed. Okay. Here, notice one thing here. Each transaction belongs to only one ATM, but each ATM can have multiple transactions. So, one ATM, multiple transactions. So, 1:n relationship will be there here. Okay. Next is a customer makes up the transaction. Okay. Again, 1:n, we write it like this. Okay, again, one customer can make multiple transactions, but one transaction will belong to a single customer because the transaction has an identifier which is unique. Okay. And each customer will also have an account. And if, what is the point of making it like this? If the customer does not exist, then account will not exist as well. So it will have an account number, it will have the, let's say, balance, it will have the when was account opened, things like these. Also, an account will also depend on the bank. If the bank is not there, there will be no account. Okay. This solid diamond that I'm creating, it is for that. Like if this thing does not exist, like if A to B, a solid diamond goes from A to B, and this means that A cannot exist without B. Okay. And this account can also be extended into two things, like if you have a current account or a savings account. Each will have some things like what is the limit of withdrawal for each. And I believe we've covered everything. Yeah, this looks good to me. I think I have covered everything. And let me just check if I missed anything. No, I did not miss anything. It's almost done. Just one more thing, which I have iterated before as well. This is a low level system design round in which you are not expected to write code. You are expected to show if you can do a separation of concerns. You can create classes. You can assign proper responsibilities to each class. So these are the things on which you are tested here. So don't focus too much on writing the code. Try to focus on this. Creating classes and assigning different methods to it. And it is possible that you may ask to write one functionality. For example, let's say you may be asked to write, let's say a transaction to transfer the money happened from account A to account B. Just write a code to show how the balance will be updated in both the accounts. Okay. So that is something, and that is, I believe, a very small portion of the code. You just have to do a plus and minus from the account from which the money is going and plus to the account to which the money is coming. So you don't have to focus too much on writing code here. And with that, I would say that's it. Thank you for watching. Please remember to like, share, and subscribe. I'll see you in the next one.